Nobody works harder than Kenny Dillingham.
You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. My name is Richie Bradshaw, and I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. A special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day, and thanks for making us your first listen of the day. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your podcast, and stay in touch with the show by following me on Twitter, RichieBrads36, and the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Today's episode is brought to you by LinkedIn. These days, every potential new hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Ladies and gentlemen, let's just get right into it because there's a lot to talk about today, and it's all about the recruiting. And Kenny Dillingham works harder than anybody else in the country. You cannot convince me otherwise. The way that he has attacked the recruiting side of things. Now, we've seen him go really aggressive when it comes to the transfer portal. He's brought in like 40 plus players in the last 2 seasons through the transfer portal. He's brought in big names. He's been able to plug in starters. They're getting the depth going. Transfer portal's been good. The recruiting aspect of things, we've seen some flashes. He landed Jaden Rashada in his first recruiting cycle, a high 4-star quarterback, one of the top 20 highest recruits for Arizona State in their history. He, this past offseason, got 2 more 4-star recruits with tight end Jaden Fortier and with running back Jason Brown. Looking ahead to next year, he's already off to a great start. And for any of you who are not in the know, because it has been a hectic weekend, we are currently the number 18 recruiting class in the nation right now. That's the overall rank and the composite rank for you guys via 24/7 Sports, which is where I normally go for my recruiting stuff. This has got to be one of the best recruiters that we've seen in a long time. Like, I know under Herm Edwards, Antonio Pierce was a good recruiter. They brought in guys like Jaden Daniels, and they had some other really talented kids to come through as well. Elijah Badger, Chip Tranum was a 4-star, I believe. They had plenty of guys. But to see how quickly Kenny Dillingham has been able to get this thing moving is crazy. And he's done it in so many different ways and so many different avenues. And don't get me wrong, he's not the only one recruiting. Marcus Arroyo, Hines Ward, Brian Carrington, you've got guys throughout the entirety of the staff who are helping to recruit. It's not just Kenny Dillingham, but Dillingham is at the forefront. And we knew when he was hired at Arizona State, this was a good recruiter. This is a great recruiter. This was somebody that was able to get really good talent at Memphis when he was their offensive coordinator, at Florida State when he was their offensive coordinator, and he got some good recruits at Oregon his lone season there, including 5-star quarterback Dante Moore, before Moore decommitted after Dillingham left. He knows what he's doing when it comes to the recruiting cycle, and we're really starting to see it come to fruition. And like I said, it's come in all sorts of different avenues, but the way he's able to do it, to me, there's 2 really big components, and he's been totally transparent when it comes to these. The first one, he's upfront and honest. He's telling these kids, hey, do not come to Arizona State if you are not committed to the program. We want guys that are here to be culture builders. We want guys that are here to be all-time Sun Devils. And he's emphasized that with the Activate the Valley movement, which we'll talk about more a little later on here. He's done it with the attacking of Southern California and Texas and expanding our boundaries, Hawaii and Utah. They're going all over the place for these guys. And he's upfront and honest about it. Like he's telling them, like, hey, there's a lot of perks of coming to the wonderful state of Arizona. There's a lot of perks to going to Arizona State University, but you have to want to be here, which leads me to my second point. How is he able to do it? He said as much himself on Friday or Saturday. I think it was Saturday. He said, you gotta love competition. You gotta love it. You gotta love competition. He is all about it, which is why he's not afraid to tell guys, like, if you're one toe out, you shouldn't be here. He said verbatim, like, it's why I don't fight for kids to stay. If you want to enter the transfer portal, I'll help you enter the transfer portal. I'll build you up. We see it on Twitter. Jaden Rashada enters the transfer portal. Whoever lands him, they're going to be getting a great quarterback. He's super talented, great young man. He doesn't have to do that, but he is. And that goes a long ways with recruits too. They see that and they go, wow, this is a coach that is going to take an interest in me, and a coach that wants me to take that next step in my career, whether it's at Arizona State, whether it's somewhere else, whether it's in the pros. Kenny Dillingham is all about culture building. And the biggest culture that he's establishing right now is that you want to be all in and you want to build each other up, but you gotta love competition. It's that classic iron sharpens iron mentality. Kenny Dillingham told Jaden Rashada, he told Trenton Bourguet in the offseason, hey, we're bringing in a guy. For sure, we are bringing someone in. Get ready to compete. And lo and behold, they bring in Sam Levitt, former 4-star recruit in the same cycle as Jaden Rashada. It's just one of those where no one's job is safe. Rashada's job wasn't safe. Elijah Badger's job wasn't safe. Cameron Scadaboo's job wasn't safe. Anyone on the defense, Clayton Smith, Zaven Alford, anybody, Tate Romney, Ian Hershey on special teams. Like, nobody's job is safe. You have to compete. And when you're upfront and honest about that, and you let these kids know, like, hey, don't come here if you're not willing to compete, be the best, and want to be a legend at the program. When you tell these kids that, they're going to respond one of two ways. They can respond and go, yeah, you know what? I don't think that's really for me. I want to go someplace where I know I'm going to be the guy. I want to go someplace where I am going to be able to have that immediate success because I'm not going to have to worry about competing with anyone. Or you have the kids that are going to respond, hell yeah, I want to go to Arizona State. I want to show the world how good I am. I want to show the world that I'm going to be one of the best players that Arizona State University has ever had in their football program. He's upfront and honest. He tells them you got to love competition. He's not going to sugarcoat things. He has said as much since he got here. Nothing has changed. A year and a half after he gets to Arizona State, nothing's changed. He's telling these kids, hey, this is the situation. You got to love to come here. You need to be willing to compete. You got to be willing to show me that even if you're sitting for your first year and get redshirt or however long, that you're going to be here for the long run. And you're seeing these guys really buy into that culture. You've had some transfers, sure. Jaden Rashada, Elijah Badger, Ed Woods entered the transfer portal today. But you're getting a lot of guys to stay. You're getting a lot of guys who are more interested in this program than they ever have been, which makes me wonder, like, he's the best recruiter since who? You've had good recruiters. Like, Antonio Pierce knew what he was doing. There was plenty of guys that were able to pull in very talented kids, but I just don't know how many other guys have been at Arizona State that have recruited better than Kenny Dillingham through now going on his third recruiting cycle. And keep in mind, his first cycle in 2023, he had to do it like that. He had no time to be able to hop on this bad boy, get things turned around. He had to reinvent the entire class. CJ Fight was the only player from the 4-person recruiting cycle that Herm Edwards had prior to his departure. And he told CJ the same thing he told everyone else. CJ initially decommitted and he recommitted again. He was like, you know what? Yeah, this is the place for me. This is culture building. Now, where he's been in terms of recruiting since the best guy whenever, I don't know. You guys let me know if you say, hey, he's been the best recruiter since what's his name? Dennis Erickson, when he got Vontaze Burfict. Anything like that. But the biggest aspect here that I want to touch on before we begin transitioning to the guys that have committed. He is recruiting at an elite level with the NCAA punishments ahead of us. If you miss that, the NCAA basically said, hey, we're basically wrapping things up for you guys when it comes to the punishments for what happened during the COVID dead period with the recruiting stuff. So all that's left is there's going to be a couple weeks sometime between now and the summer and a couple more weeks. This is from my understanding. So I think you're going to be looking at 3, 4, 5 weeks where you cannot recruit. You cannot be in contact with recruits. You cannot be bringing kids onto campus. You're on probation for the next 4 years. So if you break those rules, you're going to get hammered. So what's Kenny Dillingham do? He goes, fine, I'll do all my recruiting now. that's what's going on. Since the weekend, he's brought in, I want to say 5 guys. 4 guys? 4 guys. And there's more on the way from my understanding. But we'll go ahead and dive into the guys that he's bringing in, because with everything looming, he's bringing in big names. One of the biggest names we'll talk about in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find qualified professionals that are right for the role. That's why you need to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps find the right professionals that you can't find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to a perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're looking on LinkedIn, you're looking in the right place. If you're not, you're looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. LinkedIn knows that small businesses are wearing so many hats and might not have the time or resources to hire, which is why they're constantly finding new ways to make the process easier, and even launched a feature that helps write job descriptions, making the process even easier and quicker. 2.5 million small businesses use LinkedIn for hiring. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. The Locked On NFL Mock Draft is available now. Find the ultimate 6-episode series on Locked On NFL Draft and hear who the local experts are picking for every NFL franchise, with live reactions from Locked On College experts and even the fantasy football angle. The Locked On NFL Mock Draft is available now on Locked On NFL Draft on YouTube or wherever you're getting your podcasts. We're going to go ahead and hop right back into our conversation, take a look at who Arizona State has been able to land over the weekend. And we'll start with the most obvious, the biggest name, and one of the biggest recruits that ASU has had in the last 3 cycles, wide receiver Adrien Wilson. First of all, great name if you're going to play in the state of Arizona. Great name. If you don't know the reference, look up Cardinal safety Adrien Wilson. You'll understand why. But you get wide receiver Adrien Wilson, and this kid's it, man. 4-star kid, little bit of everything that he can do for you. A consensus 4-star, I might add. He is a top 16 or top, I'll say top 20 receiver in the nation. He is a top 30 prospect in Texas. Now, if you don't know anything about recruiting, you want to get those Texas kids, because when you recruit Texas, you're bringing in some of the best talent in the country. I would argue the best talent. Like, It's Texas, Louisiana, Florida, California, and then anyone else you want to throw in there. But Texas should be consensus number one. High school football is religion for these guys out there. They love Friday Night Lights more than they love college football, more than they love professional football. So when you're getting Texas kids, that's huge for you. And bringing him in is going to mean a lot of things for you. And it goes beyond just landing the kid. This is a massive impact player in terms of recruiting. We haven't even seen him play yet, and I can tell you that this is going to get kids' attention. They're gonna look and they're gonna go, wow, they're landing big name kids. Maybe more importantly, hashtag Texas to Tempe. They are recruiting Texas in ways that we have not seen ever. And they are adding big name kids. I mentioned CJ Fight before. Really talented kid. Montana Warren, very talented kid. Feels like half the recruiting class from this previous cycle. Chris Johnson Jr. is one of my favorite players in the upcoming class, recruited from Texas. Now Adrian Wilson, recruited from Texas. And several other kids too. And they're attacking the transfer portal as well. They're just getting guys who want to play at Arizona State. But most importantly is they're showing everybody else, like, hey, this is kind of a school that's really, really going hard in our state. Maybe I should take a look. Maybe I should take a visit out to Arizona State, see what it's all about. Why is it all the rage? Why are these guys committing to Arizona State when we haven't seen it in the last however many years? It does a lot for you. It's going to affect the process moving forward. It's going to push the Texas to Tempe pipeline for you. Speaking of pipelines, the Polynesian Pipeline is popping right now. ASU got 2 more pipeline kids. I'm going to do my best with their last names. I really apologize if I do not say them correctly. You got Isaiah Isafea, the safety from Hawaii, and Benjamin Alefeio. I know I did not say that one right. Another safety from California. ASU has like 3 big mantras right now. You got Texas to Tempe, Polynesian Pipeline, and of course, Activate the Valley, which we'll touch on in a second here. But with this Polynesian Pipeline, we've seen some very talented players come out of the Hawaii area and come out of all the Samoan side of things and the Polynesian side of things. Like, there's been talent before, and they're just continuing to add to it. You're trying to compete with your Washingtons and your Utahs on the west side of the country, and you're staying on top of it. You're adding kids that, if we're being honest, it feels like there's just something about these Polynesian football recruits. Like, you just know what you're getting with them. Similar to like Texas, where like I've said before, 3 stars in Texas are 4 stars otherwhere or anywhere else. It feels like these kids are just they're born to play football, and they're just so dialed in. I feel like more often than not, I see these guys come to Arizona State or anywhere else in the country, and they just make an impact. So it's fun to continue to build upon those storylines and those pillars of strength that you've already been hitting. And you just continue and continue and continue, and it builds with everything else. I just like seeing it. And then, of course, you got to Activate the Valley. That's the big movement. That's the one that we have wanted to see. We want to keep these guys home. We've lost countless talented players leave the state because Arizona State did not recruit them. We just did not put the emphasis on keeping these guys home. We were too busy looking at Southern Cal. We were too busy looking anywhere except in your backyard. You lose guys like Spencer Rattler and Mark Andrews and Christian Kirk and, oh my God, just Ty Thompson. There's a lot of kids who have been in the last 5 to 10 years, and especially recently under Herm Edwards, that they're just not bringing them in. That's not the case anymore. They landed today a safety by the name of Rylon Dillard-Allen from Mountain Point High School. Another safety, and this kid is special. 4.29 40 time. From my understanding, that is laser timed. So that's not hand time. That's not speculating. It sounds like that was a laser time. And if you don't know, that's pretty fast. That is pretty darn fast for a kid to be blazing like that. But more importantly than the athletic standpoint here is this is the highest recruit in state you have landed since 2017. 7 years. This is the highest kid you've recruited in state since then. Number 4 in Arizona. I have seen him on 24/7 very close to being a 4-star kid. I believe he is an 89, which you need one more point to be a 4-star, and he's on their composite in 8837, which I think it's less than 1 point that he needs to be a 4-star. So there's a chance by the end of his senior season that this kid ends up bumping up to a 4-star. It feels like he basically is. And he's got the talent, he's got the athleticism that you're looking for. And again, there's going to be more guys within the next 24 hours from my understanding. I do not know who they are. I am not sure when they're committing. I just know that there's going to be more guys. And what I like to see, and it's out of all these recruits, all the recruits from the last 3-4 days, Texas Tempe, Polynesian Pipeline, Activate the Valley. You are hitting on all of these mantras that you have wanted to build upon, that you have wanted to turn into pillars of strength and into pillars of the foundation that you are creating here at Arizona State. Kenny Dillingham is set on having these 3 plus more. It's not just these 3 components. They're going to recruit outside of Texas, Polynesian kids, and Arizona. They're going to recruit all over the country. But it's just really cool to see that they're backing up the talk and they're walking the walk. It's really, really cool. And from here, I'm excited to see what comes next for the program. And we're going to get into more detail as to what's next for Arizona State, for Kenny Dillingham, and the recruiting in just a moment. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. It's playoff time in the NBA and NHL. Baseball's in full swing, and FanDuel is your number one place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that's safe, secure, and easy to use. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. One more time, wherever you get your podcast, hit like, subscribe, turn on notifications so you get an update whenever we post new content. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every day, making us your first listen of the day. And one more shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. Let's wrap up the podcast with what comes next. The biggest component here, do not expect them to slow down. I do not know when the date is going to be that Arizona can't recruit for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is. It could be late May to early June or mid-June to mid-July. I don't know. If there is a date, please let me know. I do not think that has been specified yet, but I could very much be wrong. So if you know the date, please let me know so I'm in the know. But before that happens, we've seen ASU add 4 kids over the last 3 days. More kids are on the way. And it's going to stay that way. It is going to stay that way. ASU is going to continue to be hyper aggressive in adding these kids. You're up to 9 kids in your recruiting class. You've got 1 concrete 4-star. You've got Rylon Dillard-Allen, who's basically a 4-star. You also have Michael Butter Tollefson, who is a 3-star by 24/7's like overall ranking, but he's a 4-star through their composite ranking. So I would tell you, you've got two 4-stars and another one who's flirting with that category and could be by the end of the year. They are getting it done with recruiting, and they're not finished. They're only going to continue to add more and more and more and more and more players. And I will tell you, before that sinks in, the punishment from the NCAA, let's say it's in 2 weeks. We'll say it's in 2 weeks and it goes for 3 weeks, just in this scenario. Before that 2 weeks happens, expect more kids. And I can't tell you if it's going to be 5, 6, 7 kids, but do not be surprised with the visits that they have lined up. And there's some big ones over the weekend. Don't be surprised if there's more kids that end up committing very, very soon for ASU. And I would also not be surprised if they're 4-star kids or really high 3-stars. Also, touching on that real quick, I know some people are like disheartened by the amount of 3-stars that are coming in. Like I've seen people say like, oh, look, another 3-star. Stars are cool to look at. They're not everything. There's so many players on ASU right now that were 3-star recruits that are playing as good as any 5-stars that ASU has seen or anybody else has seen. It's not just about your recruit ranking. It's all about how you respond, how you play, how you perform, and your mentality. So yeah, 4-stars are cool. 5-stars are really cool. But at the end of the day, just give me guys who love to play football. That's all. And don't get me wrong, of course I want to see 5-stars. Of course I want the 4-star kids. Who doesn't? But at the end of the day, you just want kids who want to be here. And that's the biggest part that you're looking for right now. You just want these guys to want to be Sun Devils lifelong. Play here 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. However long they get their eligibility for. That's what you want to see. And Kenny Dillingham's doing a great job with that. You've got the Activate the Valley, the Texas Tempe, the Polynesian Pipeline. More than anything, though. And I think this is going to end up being a huge factor for ASU. Look for ASU. Look for Arizona, the state, to get recruited better than ever before. I think ASU wants to find their hometown heroes. They want the next N'Keal Harry. They want the next Chase Lucas, the next DJ Foster, the next Tyler Johnson. They are all sights set on getting the hometown kids to stay. They were all in on Cooper Perry before Rashad Samples left, and then he committed to Oregon. And who knows, maybe down the road he does end up back at Arizona State. But they're not going to stop taking a look at these hometown kids, pursuing them at an elite rate. And I think that it's really going to take off here. Within the next couple of weeks, you are going to see, excuse my alarm there, you're going to see a hyper-aggressive program that is just all in on getting these kids to stay home. Recruiting Arizona has never been more important than it is right now for ASU. We got something special building here. Kenny Dillingham knows what he's doing. Kenny Dillingham is going to take us to heights that we have not seen in a long time with this recruiting. I'm looking forward to it. I hope you guys are looking forward to it too. I'll keep you posted with everything that's going on with recruiting, though. So now has never been a better time to hit like, subscribe, follow, and turn on notifications wherever you're getting your podcast. Stay in touch with the show by following me on Twitter at RichieBrats36, the podcast at LO_Sun Devils. Turn on those notifications. Like I said, I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and a special shout out to my everydayers who are here every day. We will be back again to keep you updated on everything that's going on, from recruiting to transfers and anything and everything. We'll keep you posted. I'll see you next time. Till then, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun Devils.